Hello, family. I'm so sorry. Something happened with the previous broadcast link. So we are going to, um, yeah, we're going to continue. I'm just going to wait for Khalik to come back. Uh, Perfect. Um, Khalik, if you can hear me, check the private chat in the previous broadcast, and then come on to the new one. So I'm waiting for you there. And I believe Minna is there also. Minna, please come over and join me on the new broadcast. If you click private chat, you should see it there. Perfect. Hello, hello, Minna. And then we're just gonna wait, give it a moment for Khalid to come back. Up, yep, there it goes. It looks like he's coming into the new one. Okay. Um, Perfect. Up. Yes, it looks like everybody's here. So I'm gonna leave the old studio. Okay. So this is titled "A Letter to Sudanese Women," and this is the one that caused all the controversy. So here we go again. A letter to all Sudanese women. Dear Sudanese women, I'm perplexed as to how you speak out about being considered black and the oppressions, the microaggressions, the sly and snark comments that are without a doubt directed towards you, but yet you go ahead and do the same thing back. I cannot understand your anger at the Kim Kardashians, the Kylie Jenners for wanting to be black and using black features to their advantage, capitalizing off of it while not speaking out about black related issues like colorism, the self-hate due to being inundated by by European beauty standards, about kinky hair and the infamous snaps, yet you do the same thing too. Allow me to clarify. The word kandaka is not a word that is synonymous with all Sudanese women. Just like Sudanese does not explicitly mean Bija, Forawi, Nubian, etc. The same applies here. You are not a kandaka by virtue of being a Sudanese woman. Furthermore, you are even less of a kandaka if you've never stood for Nubian rights, for the plight of the Nubian people in the Shamaliya who can't even build on their own land but are required to seek out permission from the Dam Authority in order to build on land that was given to them as a form of reparation. For the kingdom that was sunken. No, I don't mean Atlantis. I mean the livelihood that was strangled, the gold that was smuggled, the train carried people, our very own trail of tears orchestrated not by foreigners but by our very own people, who with crooked tongues far away, the second class citizenry in our own homeland, the one we existed because God saw it fit to create for us there, that our home would not be complete without us. You are even less of a Kandaka if you think Kandaka means while you paradoxically fight oppression on one front, you enact it on another. While Sudanese women are queens, they are not all Kandakas because Kandaka carries a very special connotation, a very special meaning. So Sudanese women, while you scream out about the cultural appropriation of the Kylies and the Kims of the world, picket against the Karens and the Beckys, remember to check yourself too, because you too are Kylie, you too are Kim, you too are Karens and Beckys as well. And so that was a letter to all Sudanese women. And then this is Kandaka, I Promise You, which was the one that Dima asked for me to share before it all ended. And so it's titled Kandaka, I Promise You. Kandaka, I promise you. I promise that I will keep the truth ringing in your ear so that you may never forget, so that we may never forget, so that we may never forget that you rode and battled one-eyed and fierce, that you made men bow before you, crushed civilizations left and right, that historically the best fighting army in all of Africa is yours. Kandaka, I promise you that I will not let your name go in vain, that I will not allow it to be exploited by those who simply want fame, that it will not become another hashtag that people will use simply for gain while doing nothing, as real Kandakas have screamed out in pain for as long as our country has existed. Kandaka, I promise you that I will keep alive your language to the best of my ability, that I will keep culture and tradition so that those who come after me will know your story. Kandaka, I promise you that I will fight and fight and fight until I have no more fight left to give, that this will be the hill that I die on. Kandaka, I promise you that Halfa's flooding will not have been in vain, that 52,000 people on our side did not lose their homes for naught, that 60,000 on the other side were not forced to leave for naught. Kandaka, I promise you that the skyrocketing cancer rates will not be for naught, that the cyanide in the Nile, that very river that they claim to prefer over us, will not be for naught, that the bodies laid out in mass graves, spirits that have no home because they were forced to leave theirs, will not be for naught, that the infants crying in foreign languages will not be a sacrifice. Kandaka, I promise you that I will speak for you because you refuse to speak any other language but our tongue. I will be your advocate. Kandaka, I promise you that I will not cave to the idea of unity with one broad brush, because unity at the expense of others is oppression. Kandaka, I promise you that culture vultures will simply make me resolute, that Kandakas like Mayada, the sit shy, will not simply be forgotten by the wayside in favor of those more popular. Kandaka, I promise you that I will continue to speak out about the oppression, that when told to be quiet, I will still continue to scream, even if my silence is deafening. Kandaka, I promise you that they can try to tarnish my name and that I will give it without a fight, because you, Kandaka, are worth more. You, the history that floods through my veins. You, the matriarch who birthed me and birthed men not afraid to speak, who birthed women, who gave birth to real men who died for her honor. Kandak, I promise you that although Nubia is underwater, it will continue to rise like Atlantis. That media personnel like Hussein Khojali, who with state-sponsored backing said they dream of waking up one day and not hearing the Nubian language spoken but only Arabic, will not win. Kandak, I promise you that irrespective of which huge follower with which huge following comes for me, I will never cave. Kandak, I promise you that Turabi's death contract was stated that only and after only his death that his 16-part series can be aired, that on episode 11 he spoke and said we must destroy the Nubians will not prevail. Kandaka, I promise you that Joan Gudden and the martyrs of the Sudanese revolution, like my cousin, did not die in vain. That they died so that we can all be Sudanese in our own unique Sudanese way, so that I can proudly say, Kandaka, I promise I will never stop fighting for your name. Kandaka, I promise you that I will keep bringing the truth in your ears so that you never forget who you are. Kandaka, I promise you. And so that is Kandaka, I promise you. And that was hopefully my contributions to Nubia. And inshallah, I will definitely try to continue writing more of this.
I understand that some
Okay.
Sudanese women.
So Miss Irini's calligraphy class has started. So what we're going to do is we're going to end this live, unless Claudia, do you have anything to say? Mina, unless you want to share with us, so that we can continue to broadcast the calligraphy class. But just on that poem, really quickly, I just do want to clarify one simple thing. Because the people who are upset were upset over apparently me degrading Sudanese women. I don't understand how that was a degradation of Sudanese women. I clearly stated in this poem that I do think Sudanese women are queens, but I don't think all Sudanese women are kandakas, and I think that's a very important thing to say, because if you, for example, say to a person who is Bija, or a person who is Forawi, or a person who's from any of the other indigenous groups in Sudan, the word, Kandaka, they specifically know that you are referring to Nubians, because we, as in people in Sudan, know what, and we have unique words for our own women heroes.
When we use
So I think using this word to try to say all Sudanese women is not appropriate on multiple fronts, one of which is you are taking away the history and the story of other groups in Sudan, and you are removing their ability to talk about their sheroes, and are instead just coloring, all Sudanese women with this one brush. It is also actually the word Kandaka, its reemergence really quickly. I know we have to get to Miss Irani's class, but really quickly, the word Kandaka, a lot of people don't know this, but it came back out through the Bashir regime, and this idea that we are all Kushites, and so, you know, trying to unite all Sudan under one banner. But the issue with that is that the Bashir regime has specifically worked towards, and regimes even before that have specifically worked towards erasing our African identity and aligning us with, you know, Pan-Arabism so that they can gain money from wherever it is that they want to gain money. So they specifically have stated that, you know, we will use this word to try to, you know, unite all Sudanese people while at the same time not paying attention to the issues. As I stated there, people in Halfa cannot even build on their own land. They can't. They have to seek permission from the president of the country in order to build on land that was given to us that was supposed to be reparations. So that is problematic, and nobody knows of these issues, and that is what was highlighted in these poems, that we keep using words without understanding the trauma of the people whose words we're using. We keep using words without understanding where they come from. We keep using words without the origins and without knowing the origins and the history. And I mentioned in that poem also, Hussein Khojali, who was a state-sponsored journalist, media personnel, specifically said on live television, I hope to wake up one day and I don't want to hear the Nubian language spoken anymore. I wish these people were erased and destroyed. You know, and Turabi has said, after which, you know, he signed a contract and he said, only after my death can this be released. He said in one of the episodes, and I mentioned which episode it was in that poem, you know, we must send the Nubians, indoctrinate the Nubians to send them back to destroy the Nubians. And so it's not, you know, when we're talking about this, we're talking about systemic issues. We're talking about the erasure of history. And I keep saying Tasseti is not real because there's a group of people out there who keep trying to push this idea that Nubians are foreign to Sudan, that we do not exist in Sudan, and therefore, you know, there is a group of people called the Tassetians, even though Tasseti is actually a name for Nubia. It means the land of the bow. You know, Nubians are known as the Tassetians because they were known as archers of the eyes. And there is a historical thing in Islam, if you can go do your own research on that. That's why I keep saying Tasseti is not real. This idea that there are a group of people that existed in Sudan and the Nubians came and overtook them, that is not a real ideology. You know, that's not real. Scholars have said this is not real, you know, and so there's in our poetry, as Khalid said so eloquently before, there's trauma that people refuse to acknowledge and that people refuse to really talk about, and that is what these poems have been talked about. There's people who've taken these poems and who have misconstrued them, who have used them for their own personal gains. That's what the poem is talking about. I won't allow people to use, you know, these words for their own gains. I talk about a Sid Shai who was in this poem named Mayada, who was going to be, you know, who was unfortunately killed during the revolution, and you know, people like her need to be known, and that needs to be known, and just what is really happening in Nubia needs to be known. Khalid, I give it to you. Please, any closing remarks for us? Minna, any closing remarks? Go for it. All right, so then we'll end this broadcast and we will begin the next one. Until next time, Afia Logo.